Ever been in a situation where you thought you could talk your way out of trouble, only to have it all blow up in your face? Well, you're about to meet a man who tried exactly that, in front of a judge who has heard every excuse in the book. Christopher Denzel Lewis, a convicted felon, was caught with a gun. He came into court begging for a second chance, armed with letters of support and a story that just didn't add up. But Judge Raquel West had her own stack of evidence, and what she revealed turned the courtroom into a masterclass on why lies, especially under oath, have very short legs. This is a courtroom moment where the truth hits hard, and the consequences are even harder. Let's dive in. The scene is set in Judge Raquel West's courtroom. Christopher Denzel Lewis stands before her, having already pleaded guilty to unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. The deal on the table, a maximum of 6 years in prison. His defense attorney, Miss Holmes, makes her case first. She paints a picture of a man who's learned his lesson. She points to his past, a string of burglaries that led to an 8-year sentence, but emphasizes that he has been discharged and is now trying to get his life back on track. She highlights the letters of support from his family, portraying him as a man ready to be a productive citizen, someone who desperately wants to avoid going back to prison so he can provide for his family. She asks for probation, a chance for him to prove he's changed. But Judge West isn't just reading the letters. She's read the pre-sentence report, and one thing immediately jumps out at her. She looks directly at Mr. Lewis and says, "I want to make sure I understand because, Mr. Lewis, your version of this is that it wasn't your gun. It was in your girlfriend's purse, and you didn't even know her purse was in the car, much less the gun was in the purse in the car." She puts it to him plainly. Either you're guilty or you're not. If you knew about the gun, you're guilty. If you didn't, then a jury needs to decide. Lewis tries to explain, "I'm pleading guilty because I was driving the car, ... But the judge cuts him off. "That's not how the law works. You don't get to plead guilty just because it's convenient." She reminds him he swore an oath to tell the truth, and that oath means admitting you did what you were charged with. The first crack in his story appears, and it's a big one. The prosecutor, Mr. Smith, stands up and wastes no time. He reminds the court that Lewis has been given probation before and failed. He was revoked. And then he drops the bombshell: Lewis's behavior in jail. Mr. Smith argues that Lewis's actions behind bars show a complete lack of respect for authority and rules, making him a terrible candidate for probation. He asks for the full 6-year sentence. Now, the courtroom's attention shifts. What exactly has Mr. Lewis been doing in jail? Judge West picks up a stack of jail incident reports, and the mood in the room turns heavy. She looks at Lewis, noting that his family letters describe him as respectful. Then she begins to read. "What has been going on in our jail is the furthest thing from respectful that I've seen," she says, her voice firm. She details multiple incidents, starting with one just a week prior, on April 14th, where he refused orders and yelled obscenities at an officer. Lewis tries to interrupt, claiming one case wasn't him, that it was a mistake. But the judge isn't finished. She continues, report by report, date by date. April 7th. An officer observes him engaging in inappropriate conduct in his bunk. When confronted, he makes a disgustingly vulgar comment. March 25th. A different officer on a different day reports the same disturbing behavior. March 18th. Another officer, another report of him stroking himself while being monitored. January 24th, December 29th, December 17th. The list goes on and on. It's a pattern of defiance, disrespect, and lewd behavior, specifically targeting female officers just trying to do their jobs. Lewis tries to defend himself. "I sleep on my back," he says, as if that explains everything. He claims he has sisters and a mother, that he would never do such things. "Then people write whatever they want," he insists, suggesting a conspiracy of multiple officers making up stories about him. But Jed West is unmoved. "You're really going to do that?" She asks, her disbelief clear. The sheer number of reports from different officers makes his denial completely unbelievable. The man his family called respectful is being exposed as anything but. The contradictions are piling up, and Lewis is burying himself under the weight of his own lies. He's not just accused of having a gun, he's being judged on his character, and is falling apart in real time. Judge West then brings up his past. She asks him if he served his full 8-year sentence from his previous conviction. He says no. She asks what he did in prison that prevented him from getting out early. Just tattooing. Contraband, he replies dismissively. Once again, a history of not following the rules. Even while incarcerated, she points out he was out on parole for less than a year before being arrested for this new crime. The pattern is undeniable. A failed probation, rule-breaking in prison, and now, a new felony charge, coupled with disgusting behavior in jail. The defense's plea for another chance on probation now sounds completely disconnected from reality. With all the evidence laid bare, Judge West makes her decision. She states for the record that his guilty plea was entered freely and voluntarily. I find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. Then comes the sentence. I sentence you to a term of 6 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. No probation. No more chances. Just the consequences he had been trying so desperately to avoid. She tells him he's lucky. With his history, the prosecutor could have pushed for an even longer sentence. The 6-year cap they agreed to was, in her words, generous. Before he's led away, she is required by law to read him an admonishment, reminding him that as a convicted felon, he is permanently barred from ever possessing a firearm or ammunition again. It's a final, formal reminder of the very law he broke. And with that, he is escorted out of the courtroom. So, what just happened here? Let's break it down. Christopher Denzel Lewis tried to play the system. He pleaded guilty, hoping for a lenient sentence, while simultaneously denying the facts of his case. He wanted the benefit of a plea deal without the burden of true accountability. His defense relied on letters from loved ones who likely only see one side of him. But in the courtroom, actions speak louder than words. Judge West looked at the complete picture. His criminal record, his failed probation, his inability to follow rules even in prison, and his appalling behavior in jail while awaiting this very sentence. The jail incident reports were the nail in the coffin. They didn't just show a lack of respect. They showed a contempt for authority, and a disturbing pattern of behavior that completely undermined any claim that he was a changed man. When he tried to deny it, blaming the officers and claiming it was all a misunderstanding, his credibility completely evaporated. A judge has to decide if a person is a good risk for probation. Can they be trusted to follow the rules out in the community? Lewis proved, over and over again, that he couldn't even follow the rules inside a locked facility. His fate wasn't sealed because of one gun. It was sealed by a lifetime of choices and a complete refusal to take genuine responsibility. In the end, Judge West didn't just sentence a man. She upheld the integrity of the court, sending a clear message that justice requires more than just saying you're sorry. It requires truth. This case is a powerful example of how the legal system is designed to see through the stories people tell and focus on the facts. Lewis thought he could have it both ways, but Judge West made it clear that the law doesn't work like that. It was a tough sentence, but was it a fair one? What do you think? Did Christopher Lewis get what he deserved, or was the judge too harsh? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want to see more courtroom drama where the truth always comes to light, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next case.